Whatever you do, tell the truth. These words were spoken by Governor of New York and Democratic presidential candidate Grover Cleveland. Grover the Good, he was called for his outstanding honesty and dedication to what he considered good government, which makes the actions he took in June of 1893 even stranger. Now, in March of 1893, Grover Cleveland would make history when he was sworn in for a second term as president as a non-consecutive term, making him the 24th president as well as the 22nd president. And this was amazing because that had never happened up to this point in history. Cleveland had defeated his 1888 rival for the presidency, Benjamin Harrison, in 1892 and retook the White House. But not long after he retook the White House, he started to notice something strange. Now, Cleveland, an avid smoker and chewer of tobacco, would notice on the left side of his upper mouth a sore, and he ended up pulling out a mirror, and he found what was described by Alan Schwartz of the Philadelphia Inquirer as a crater-like ulcer with granulated surface on the left side of his hard palate. Having now seen it, Cleveland did the one reasonable thing that he could: called a doctor. Now, had I been in Cleveland's position, considering the medical care that James Garfield had received when he was shot, I would be a little iffy on White House doctors. Nah, I'm just kidding. This doctor had nothing to do with that, and these were different situations. So the White House physician, Robert O'Reilly, after examining the tumor, recommended that Cleveland have the tumor removed. Now, what did Cleveland end up doing? Well, he decided he was going to have it removed, but he was going to have it done in secret on board a yacht called the Oneida. And why, you may ask? Now, at this point, the United States was entering into the Panic of 1893, which was up to that point the worst economic downturn in United States history. And it mainly stems down to the gold versus silver debate, in which many poorer Americans who tended to fall into the populist side, and many people in both parties thought that coining silver would be good for the health of the economy. Now, President Cleveland fell on the other side, being a gold man, and he believed very much so that silver was bad for the health of the economy. And he also believed that a president nearing death, or with cancer, a disease which at the time was called the dread disease, in which you just didn't really recover from, would also be bad for the economy. One newspaper even had this to say: Mr. Cleveland is about all that stands between this country and absolute disaster, and his death would be an absolute calamity. So you see now why Cleveland might be a little concerned that if he came out publicly and said, "Hey, I have cancer, I'm going to go get a tumor removed," might not be a very good thing. The surgery was kept so secret that not even the vice president was made aware. So on June 30th, Cleveland, with a team of 6 doctors, would get on board his friend's yacht, the Oneida. The yacht was owned by Elias C. Benedict. A few days later, on July 1st, President Cleveland would go below deck, and over the course of the next 90 minutes, the doctors would operate on the president. The seas were remarkably calm, and the president's doctors were able to remove the tumor. They also, in the process, removed 5 of his teeth, as well as part of his jaw and upper left palate. Now, the surgery itself was a miracle, as up to this point, medical care still wasn't that good. Again, just ask President Garfield. And the fact that the surgery went off without a hitch and Cleveland ended up living for another 15 years is amazing. Now, in order to make sure that Cleveland sounded the same, they fitted the president with a rubber prosthesis that would make sure he did sound the same. And the president had no external scarring and looked pretty good, because at the outset, he had requested that his doctors keep his mustache intact so that no one would be able to tell. Now, if a president just disappears for 4 days, that raises some serious alarms. So one reporter by the name of E.J. Edwards did some investigating and found out about the president's secret surgery by confirming it with one of the doctors who had been on board, and published a story about it in August. And in terms of substance, it was completely accurate. Now, after hearing about this, the president's staff went into cover-up mode. The Secretary of War and a personal friend of Cleveland, Daniel Lamont, met with a group of reporters outside of Washington, D.C. at Gray Gables, which was the president's home outside of Washington, And they met not in the actual house, but in the barn to ensure that these reporters would not find anything that might confirm their suspicions. So what Daniel Lamont tells them is that, guys, the president didn't have any real surgery. He had just let his teeth fall into a really bad state of disrepair. He hates dentistry. He just went and got a couple teeth removed. That's it. Why did he do it on a yacht? Well, he wanted to be comfortable. And then one of the reporters would ask, well, okay, who did the dentistry? And Lamont refused to answer, saying it was a trivial question. Like, I'm not going to answer that. It's dumb. You don't need to know who did it. You just need to know he got a few teeth removed. That's it, guys. And the president, at most, is suffering a bad case of rheumatism, which he already suffered. Now, after the reporters left, they fell into two camps. Those who believed Lamont and those who didn't. But the reporters said this, that they would talk about it and they would all send out the same story. Now, eventually, the story that they believed in is the one that would come out. And E.J. Edwards, who had written this story, was called a liar, and his story was branded as a cancer fake. But that wasn't until 1917 when one of the doctors, William Keene, decided to publish an article setting the record straight and vindicating him. And that ended one of the most substantial presidential cover-ups in American history. And probably the most successful. Hey guys, Mr. Fredberger here. Thanks for watching the video, and don't forget to like and subscribe.